Hello, my name is Cassidy Polly, and I'm here to talk to you about the importance of being vaccinated. The purpose of my speech today is to persuade everybody and educate everybody on the importance of being vaccinated and what could possibly happen to you if you're not vaccinated. According to Fast Stats, 91.5% of children have been vaccinated each year, and for things such as measles and mumps. Most schools require students to be vaccinated, before you go into kindergarten, and then also your junior year. Obviously, this year with COVID, things are a little bit different, but still, before I went into my junior year, I still had to have the proper vaccinations. It's important so that way we keep everybody safe around us and nobody gets quarantined or sent home more than we have to, especially with this year. According to the National Foundation for Infectious Diseases, around 50,000 U.S. people die from infections that could have been prevented by a simple vaccine. You may be wondering why this topic is relevant to you. Well, one day, some of you might have kids, nieces, nephews, whatever, and it will be your responsibility to make sure that these kids are properly vaccinated and properly taken care of so that they don't get sick and they don't become one of every 2 million to 3 million deaths per year, and those are just in children, not adults. I work in healthcare, and I've seen many kids come into the ER who have been suffering from things such as chicken pox and other things that just could have been prevented by a simple vaccine, and they didn't have to die. According to the CDC, there are at least 24 diseases that are preventable with a vaccine. And by getting vaccinated, your life could possibly be saved, and not only yours, but other people's around you. You would never want to be responsible for giving something to someone who doesn't have the vaccination and they die. It's simple to get done, and there are many resources out there to be used. And there's a lot of research out there, so you can properly educate yourself, even go to your doctors and things like that. So stick with me as I tell you about all the lives of vaccinations that have been saved. If you don't get vaccinated, you could obviously become very sick and you could possibly die. Children can't fight off diseases as well as older people can. Their immune systems aren't the best. They haven't been around as long to pick up as many disgusting things on the ground like the rest of us have. And they could just get sick, and they have been dying for centuries. But we finally found cures, or what we hope are cures, to help make sure that everyone gets better and safe and can be home and not sick. People are dying daily from things that are very, very easily prevented. Sometimes they don't work as well, but even if you have that, the next year you can build up the antibodies to fight off that such infection. One day we'll have kids our own, and it'll be our responsibility to protect our children the best way we do, and the best way that we can is to take all the precautions available. People need to get the idea out of their heads that vaccines don't work. There have been many studies about it, and people need to understand that there are risks and other such things that aren't necessarily as big that are still terrifying. I think the only way that you can educate yourself is to ask someone who is educated, and in order to become educated about these diseases, you need to find the proper people, ask the proper questions and things like that. You can go to your local doctor. They should be able to tell you all about it and such like that. This isn't something small like the flu. I have gotten the flu shot since I was old enough to get it, and I have never gotten the flu. Now, that is a live infection, so it'll be put into you as a live virus, and you can get sick from it, but you'll build up the antibodies to it. My mom made sure to get me vaccinated as well as my brother whenever we were little, and neither of us hardly ever get sick. If you have a headache, you solve it by taking something simple such as ibuprofen or acetaminophen, stuff like that. But why would you not do that for being vaccinated? You're preventing diseases that are life-threatening, and usually headaches aren't very life-threatening, but still you don't want to deal with it. Without these vaccines, you could be one of 50,000 to 90,000 to die of a very preventable death. My plan will work mainly because of the pandemic, and with so many people that are afraid of what could happen, they're now going to be wanting to be able to do whatever they can to protect their children, especially after this year. So with my hope is after this year, vaccine rates will go up and everybody will start getting their children vaccinated, and we can slow down the risks or the deaths of children that could be prevented. The only objects that I've seen are people are too afraid to get live vaccines because they think that they won't work or they'll get super sick and die, when oftentimes that's not true. You may not be able to be completely immune to it right away, but the next year you are more than likely going to be. If my plan is adopted, I hope that there will be less people's lives over things that can be prevented. And the benefits of getting the vaccine would be the fact that you could have protection built up for immunity to viruses whenever you get the vaccine for it. The consequences could possibly be that you won't develop immunity right away. So you say you get the flu, you get a flu shot, and then the next day or the next week you start not feeling good. So then you're probably going to have the flu, but you won't necessarily have it next year. People are dying from things that can easily be prevented, and it's important that we use the resources that medicine has given us to protect us. A lot of people back in the day used to die of chicken pox and everything like that, and nowadays you don't see that. It's not as common. I mean, of course, people still get it. Same thing with tuberculosis. I've seen people with it, but a lot of times they have other things built up that have also killed them. In conclusion, it's important to protect yourself and others as much as you can, especially whenever you have all the resources available to you. It's time to start protecting ourselves from things like a pandemic, even though they happen whenever they want to happen. A lot of times we can help start to prevent them.